You know, start them off with the Know Your Rights theme. Our Know Your, this is going to be the Know Your Rights theme song.
Okay, you got a song?
Yeah.
Singing they will come.
Okay.
Drive them along.
Okay, everybody, we're about to start off with the Know Your Rights anthem. Okay, this is the Know Your Rights anthem. And everybody remember the song from KC and Sunshine Band? Like, that's the way I like it. But this one is I am going to remain silent. I am going to call my attorney. I am going to remain silent. I am going to call my attorney. I am going to remain silent. I am going to call my attorney. I am going to remain silent. I am going to call my attorney.
It's fantastic.
I am going to call my attorney.
Thank you.
I'm going to remain silent. I am going to call my attorney. I am going to remain silent. I am going to call my attorney. We got the blood flowing pretty good now.
Okay, folks, we actually want people gathering here.
You don't have that right like this.
Because we're talking about Friday.
So, you guys, I'm going to be really quick because we're going to move into action planning stuff, like actually planning an action, not just talking about how to plan an action. But I just wanted to kind of touch on a couple of things. It is important for us to know our rights. We have a lot of knock and talks happening in Olympia, Seattle, and Portland, and a lot of other places right now where the FBI and the cops are knocking on doors. A lot of people get arrested after the protest when they try to leave a large protest by themselves and they don't leave in the buddy system. They get approached by cops. And cops also sometimes profile your groups. So just really quickly on that note, I feel like getting a full Know Your Rights training is really useful for the groups. A lot of this stuff is online. You can go to our website, cldc.org. We are the Civil Liberties Defense Center, and we have a lot of this information on our website. But basically, the rights that we have, and yes, will the cops uphold those rights? No. But if you know your rights and you can assert your rights, the chances of the cops actually bothering you go down a little lower. But if you've asserted your rights, it also helps your attorney defend you in the court of law. Okay? So whether you are a citizen or not in this country, you have some constitutional rights. You have the right to remain silent, and you have the right to remain free from unreasonable searches and seizures. We're not going to talk about that today because that's a whole conversation, and you have the right to advocate for change. Okay? So the right to remain silent. It's the Fifth Amendment. All right? That gives every person the right not to answer questions asked by a police officer or a government agent. The Fourth Amendment is supposed to protect us from our right from unreasonable searches and seizures. All right? The bottom line states that they need a warrant or probable cause, except for an exception like an emergency, your consent to lawfully search your home or office. Never, ever consent to a search. Never. If you feel like you have to because you're pressured or it's no longer safe for you to give up that backpack, you have to make it very clear and speak loud enough for a witness to hear you that I do not consent to this search and seizure. This is happening under duress. Do not give them consent. They are going to do this. Hey, do you mind if I look in your bag?
I'd really rather you didn't.
Okay. Magic words. Can everyone repeat after me? I don't consent to a search.
I don't consent to a search.
Okay. So there's three types of interactions that you can have with a police officer. We're just going to keep this really simple, okay? It's either a conversation, a detention, or arrest. Three encounters, right? And so you don't need to talk to the FBI, the police, to ICE, to the TSA, or any investigators, but they're really good at tricking you into thinking that you should talk to them. Don't let them trick you. Oh, your friends just talked to me. It'll just take a second. Oh, I just really like your backpack. Where'd you get it from? The trick is they sometimes ask you really simple, benign questions, but what it does is it breaks the pattern of your silence and gets you talking. And once someone starts talking, as innocent as it seems, it's really hard to stop answering questions. So politely refuse to talk with them and stay polite. Do not escalate the police. Just not forget they're actually armed. And you're generally not, okay? So don't escalate against them. And the advice that my friend gives is you could just treat the police like they're a black bear that you've encountered in the woods. Be polite, walk away, arms out, don't turn your back on them. just walk away, but just back up.
Play dead.
Don't play dead.
Do you have to tell her your name?
No. You do not have to talk to the police. In the legal system, the first place where you unless you're driving a car, if you are driving a car, you have to show your ID as the driver's license. But the first person that you legally have to tell your name to is the judge. Okay? So this is how a conversation might go with a police officer. Hi, can I ask you a couple of questions?
No, I'm really in a hurry.
I just want to talk to you. Be quick.
I choose not to talk to you.
Have a nice day.
So you always want to ask if you're free to. So if that conversation didn't go so well, and it's like, actually, I have some questions. I really want to talk to you.
Are you detaining me or am I free to go?
Yeah, you know what? I'm detaining you. Legs apart, arms up against the wall.
Why am I being detained?
I didn't like the way you answered my question.
I am exercising my right to remain silent and I wish to speak to my attorney.
So you want to memorize the response as to why the cops said that they were detaining you, because they need to have reasonable suspicion is not because they don't like your personality. They have to oh, I saw you stick something that looked like drugs in your bag, or it looked like you were carrying that U-lock that was locked down earlier in an action. And so here's the thing, with the conversations with the police, you don't have to go anywhere with them. Physically, they might try, why don't you step outside the coffee shop or walk with me 2 steps this way? You don't physically have to go anywhere with the police. Unless, the cops cannot move you physically unless you're under arrest, okay? And as soon as you're under arrest, the first thing you want to ask for is an attorney. And if they injure you in the process, do not tough that out. You want to ask to talk to the medic as soon as possible because you want documentation of how they treated you. The police may, okay, I'm going to leave all that out. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be really short. So here's the deal with the rights. Who here knows about the Miranda rights? Okay, who here knows that as soon as you say anything like ask to go to the bathroom, those rights go away? Okay, so this is the trick. Miranda rights, I have the right to remain silent. You invoke that right. It's the first thing you want to do with the police. I have the right to remain silent. And then you're sitting there quiet and awkward, and you're like, I have to go to the bathroom. What you did is you took away your rights, because you engaged them in conversation, so when you come back from the bathroom, and you start talking, your rights are gone. So you have to reinstate them. You have to say, I'm going to choose to remain silent now.
Come in and out of your
They're like a light switch, on and off, and you have to maintain control of your own rights.
If I'm talking to someone adjacent to me who also is cuffed, am I giving up a right?
Once you're in custody, the police near you, only say what you feel like needs to be said that you're fully comfortable having show up in transcript in court, because you are being recorded. And here's the tricky thing about conversations in court. Sarcasm doesn't come through in written transcripts. It doesn't say, and then she winked or rolled her eyes. So when the cops are actually arresting you, you're trying to get them to say, am I under arrest? They're gonna say, I'm placing you under arrest.
I am going to remain silent and I want to contact my attorney.
That's fine. You'll be able to contact your attorney at the police station. Guess what I just did? I lied. So, it could take a long time. We're not going to going to get into this now, but it can take quite a while from arrest to actually getting that phone call or in contact with your attorney. And so there's tools on how to prep for getting arrested, which goes into your affinity groups and your buddy systems and getting yourself grounded for these experiences so you can maintain your power when you're in the situation where the majority of your power has been stripped away. I think that is probably the quickest version. Yeah.
Cops, when you're being arrested, will ask you for your social security number. Do not give it to them. You don't have to give the cops your social security number. They're just FBI profiling you.
Right. Okay, so that's the other thing. When you go through the jail process, they're going to try to get you to sign. Okay, I said I wasn't going to go through the jail process. You don't have to sign anything in jail. You have to sign something to get released. Do not sign anything without reading it really carefully, because they'll put tricky things in there saying you can't associate with your friends anymore, or you can't associate with people who do activism. Do not sign away your constitutional rights, okay? And if you feel like you are stuck and you're not going to get out of jail unless you sign that thing, then you sign under duress next to it. If you really, really need to get out of jail and you really feel bullied, you can put under, at least it'll help your attorney defend you when it comes time for them to do their jobs.
What do you put?
Under duress.
Oh.
This was under duress. So,
Can you spell that?
no.
Under duress.
I will spell that so poorly.
Dress with a U in it.
Not a dress. Duress. I think that's why you wanted clarification. Yes.
So this is how to demand your rights. Just really fast. I will not talk to you or anyone about anything.
I demand to have an attorney present before I speak to you or anyone.
I will not answer any questions or reply to any charges without my attorneys present.
I do not agree to perform any tests, consent to any searches, or participate in any lineups except DUI tests that don't involve words.
I will not sign anything unless my attorney agrees I should do so, except a jail or release agreement. Which is that thing, but you want to read it carefully, and you can sign under duress under the parts that are really sketchy. I've gone out of jail without giving them I've gotten released from jail without giving them my birth date, social security card number, or even my address. And they weren't even sure they had my name. But they were like, just go.
Is there like a card that we could have for our wallets that...
Yeah, and I don't have those on me. Yes. Oh, sorry. Actually, you and then you.
So if they cuff you, does that mean you're under arrest by definition, or is it just detention at that point?
That's a good question. You know, cops.
Well, they have handcuffed and detained people in Chicago before. It does happen, but the vast majority of the time, if you're cuffed, you're under arrest.
Yeah, but not always. They might be doing it as an intimidation tactic. So
I know someone.
So you need to ask, as soon as the handcuffs go on you, am I under arrest? And if they say no, then you said, okay, well, I'd like to leave then. Can you please unhandcuff me? If I'm not under arrest, I don't want to be here anymore. You know, I choose to leave. So please take your handcuffs off of me.
So if you're in detention, can you leave unless they arrest you?
They could choose to arrest you. I mean, once you're detained, you can't really walk away from them, per se. but it's tricky. Detention's tricky. But ultimately, they haven't arrested you yet, so they have to be able to articulate why you're being detained to keep you there. So if they're saying, like, I know you were a witness to that crime, then they could justify why you have to stay there, and if you try to leave, they'll arrest you. But pretty much if the cops have said you're detained and you try to walk off, that's not a good idea.
If I could just get a quick story in. As she was saying, the police love to try to casually get information out of you, and one of the biggest lies they will tell is, okay, if you could just answer a couple of really simple questions, we'll get you out of here a lot faster. They will play on your desperation to get out of jail and try to be like, we just need to confirm a few details. It's nothing we don't already know. That's always a lie. The only time I've ever seen one of my fellow occupiers cave to that shit, he wound up charged with a felony. Like, you do not cooperate with that.
Don't cooperate. Do not lie to them. Do not give a false name. Ever. Don't give a false name. You can say, you know what? You can call me Spotted Owl. For the rest of this conversation. But it might be easier for you just to give up your driver's license and move along from the situation, depending on what it is. But you're not required to give your name. You're not required to say anything. However, the police must ID themselves. So if they're detaining you, that's a great time for you to be like, great, can I get your name and badge number? And as soon as you're done interacting with the cops, just the last thing I'll say, whether it's getting pulled over or it's at the action or you're the police liaison or you're walking out of jail, go immediately to a pen and paper, date it, write down exactly what happened and sign it. Because by the time you get around to court, you are not going to remember the details that you're pretty sure that you'll remember because you feel permanently scarred. It's not I'm sorry. But it's not true. So just write everything down, date it, sign it, get a witness to sign it with you. Record it. We need to record all these things. And on that note, it's a very, very, I'm sure that maybe I brought up more questions than answers.
People can talk to us later. We both work with organizations that deal with these things. If you have more questions, just find us.
Okay.
Awesome. And I want your cards before it's all over. You guys, let's hear it.